Hello and welcome to SkShadow. Welcome back to another episode of our F1 2020 My Team Career Mode. And today's episode actually starts off at the end of our first season, where we need to renegotiate with our current teammate, Lance Stroll, which he actually declined because he demanded that we have Spec 2 level of the durability, and we've only got Spec 1. So we've got to go through and try and find someone else. Thankfully, we've kept about 16 million to be able to do so. So we go for his teammate, Prix, but he refuses because we don't have Spec 1 in marketing. And then we go for Esteban Ocon, who actually does accept, as you'll see. He only had demands for cash and acclaim, so we've got to go for a bit of a bidding war. Got to outbid Renault for their current driver. Which we do eventually manage to do, and we managed to get him for 8.05 million. So our new teammate going into the next season is the Frenchman Esteban Ocon. So this is the end of our first season now, and you can see we got given 23 million in total, so 10.5 for our sponsor and 12 and a bit from finishing in 7th. So that's why it was so crucial to get as many points as possible, because obviously the higher you finish in the constructors, the more money you get. But here we've got to choose who we're going to go for our engine supplier. And you can see that Renault actually has the best performance now and the best durability. So because of that, they're obviously the most expensive. But a lot of the time, the engine can make the difference on whether you're going to be able to make an overtake or not. So we do go for the Renault engine in the end. In terms of sponsor, we go for Slingshot Fuel because they got decent money, and all we've got to do is earn 15 Constructors' Championship points in a season, which we should easily be able to do. Now we've got to choose what races we're going to do. So obviously I immediately take off Abu Dhabi and Russia because they're always pretty boring. Put back on Australia, so that's going to be the first race of our season, and the one you're going to see now. And then I initially decide that I'm going to go for Hungary, but I do a little bit later on change my mind, and you'll see I take off Hungary and put on Spain instead, just because I decided I actually prefer the Spanish track a little bit more. But now we are in to our new season, and as you can see, the expected retirements, Grosjean and Raikkonen, are out now, which then means that there's a bit of a driver shake-up. So in the Alphas are Giovinazzi and George Russell, who obviously was in the Haas last season. Obviously Gasly and Kvyat still in AlphaTauri, Prez, Stroll, Vettel, Leclerc, they haven't changed, but you got Nick De Vries is now in the Haas alongside Magnussen. You can see that the McLarens, Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris, they are exactly the same. And in the Mercedes, you've got Hamilton and Bottas as normal, Verstappen, Albon in the Red Bull, and in Renault, you've got Huber and Ricciardo. And then obviously Latifi and Ilott in Williams. And for us, obviously us and Ocon, who, as you saw there with our upgrades, has got 91 pace, so he should be pretty damn quick. Obviously, we've got a bit of money to spend, so I go for the analysis suite, which is going to improve our driver's experience stat. That'll give him another 5 in that. And then I also go for the build time of the chassis, because that's the department that we've really got to focus on upgrading. And also do the same with the aerodynamics and the engine, so they're all got the next level of build time now. And then we still had a little bit of money to spare, so I thought, you know what, why not go to the personnel and increase the simulator even more. So now it's going to be another 5 pace stat, so Ocon's going to have nearly 100 pace. So we're really going to have to hope that that's going to, you know, show in the races, and he's going to be very quick. But we go for a quick aero upgrade there. Obviously, we've still got 1,500 points, so we go for a chassis upgrade as well. Because, as I said, that is exactly where we are quite low in. And we go along, they're all good, and we're going to our car reveal. And there we go. Obviously, I know it's the same livery as last season, but we didn't get to see it in that cinematic thing, so I thought I'd show you that anyway. So we're into the Australian weekend now, and weather forecast, it's dry in qualifying, but it's going to be wet in the race. So that's going to be interesting. Our first race is going to be wet. You can see that we have moved up. We are now above Alfa Romeo and Haas, and we're a fair bit closer to the Alpha Tauri and Ferrari than we were last season. They've definitely dipped due to the regulation changes. But I'll go into practice and then see you in qualifying. So, going into our first qualifying session of the new season, of course, we don't really know what to expect. So, just going to try and go as fast as I can and see where we end up. According to the performance chart, we should be above Haas, Alfa Romeo and Williams, and perhaps even fighting with the Ferraris and the Alpha Tauris as well, because we're a bit closer to us now. But, like I say, we really don't know. Ocon should be quite quick as well, especially with his upgraded pace. So I'm hoping that he's going to be giving us a bit more of a fight than our previous two teammates did. One thing to bear in mind is I'm going to be a bit inconsistent in this race, simply because I left it a little while between recording the last episode and this one, so I haven't actually played this game for like 2 to 3 weeks by the time of recording this. And our first run is a 122.7, which our teammate did a 122.3, so there's definitely time to be found somewhere there. So of course we go out for a second run with our teammate in 18th and us in 21st, so only above the Haas. So when we're below both Williams, well, definitely shows that we need to find some pace somewhere. We're going out that corner. We've already made up almost 4 temps, so, you know, getting the green sectors, definitely showing that there's time to be found. 9 temps now, going on to the second to last corner. And as we go round a sweeping bend, to go onto the pit straight, we're over a second up on our previous lap time, and we cross the line. Where do we end up? Let's have a look. P14. So we actually get into Q2 for our first race, which is pretty good, showing a decent amount of pace there. Our teammate Ocon ended up 19th for 122.3, so a fair bit slower than us. And he's slower than 1 of the Haas and 2 of the Alfa Romeo, so not a great first race for him. Hopefully it'll develop a bit more over the season and give us a bit more of a battle. But our first run in Q2 did a 122.4, so yeah, showing just how inconsistent I am there. But this is the end of our second lap, going around the corner here. About 5 temps up, creeping into 6 temps up. And then we cross the line in any second. There we go. And that puts us P16. So bottom of Q2, but still not too bad. With a 121.8, I think that was. Yeah, 121.8. So P16 for our first race. Not too bad.
It's finally time once again to begin what promises to be another thrilling season of Formula One action. Pre-season times, subject of so much discussion in recent weeks, mean nothing now, as the cars line up to battle it out for points once again. So let's get this season underway. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Hubert, Gasly, Sergio Perez, and Albon, Stroll, Norris, Leclerc, and Valtteri Bottas, Ricciardo, Kvyat, Sebastian Vettel, and Magnussen, the engineer, Russell, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Carlos Sainz, Ocon, Latifi, Ireland, and Nick de Vries. And now it's time to head down to the track.
So we are starting P15 for our first race instead of P16, because I think it was Carlos Sainz got an engine penalty already. So not very good. Looks like the strategy is going to be a 2-stop, softs to mediums. Which, considering it's raining, I'm not sure how well that's going to go, but we will go to the race start. And it's lights out and away we go. Everyone gets a pretty slow start off the line there because obviously it is raining. As we move on to the onboard and go for a bit of a dive bomb round 3 cars actually. Bottas, Kvyat, I think that was, yeah, and one of the Ferraris as well, and we put ourselves into P11. So a pretty good start from us already. Ahead of us, we've got Ricciardo in the Renault, so we've got the same engine as him. As we're going alongside him now, and we go very, very late onto the brakes, give a little bit of a tap to Leclerc and get past him as well. So as we make a little bit of a wobble there, but keep a hold of the car. So up to P9 now. So from P15 to P9, and we're only about halfway through the lap, so very, very good from us. Ahead of us is Norris and Stroll, so we might be able to catch up with them. The AI seem to be pretty damn slow in this strange weather where it's wet, but it's okay for the dries. Moving on to the end of lap 1 here, using the overtake, going for a dive bomb down the outside of Norris there. We have to go deep, lock up a little bit. We're still side by side, squeezing him as much as we can, using the overtake and the rich. He's still alongside us. We brake nice and late there. He's still alongside us, but eventually he has to give in, and we do make the place. So that's us into P8 now. Ahead of us, Stroll and Albon. So the chances of us catching up with them, pretty slim. I imagine the game now is just to keep Norris and Leclerc behind us. Leclerc shouldn't be too difficult. It looks like the Ferrari engine is not very good this year round, but obviously Norris has got the Renault engine along with us. However, moving on to lap 3, we have actually got into DRS of Stroll, but we're not going to be able to use it because for our first race of the season, the DRS wing is broken, which is the most annoying thing to happen to you when DRS has only just been allowed, because obviously we're on to lap 3 and we're in the DRS zone of Stroll in P8. So DRS would be very, very useful for us, not only to attempt to get past Stroll, but also to keep ahead of Norris, because he's in the DRS zone of us, so he's going to have that wing open. But we can't because it's broken. So I thought, you know, we'd managed to sort those issues after getting it so many times at the beginning of the first season, but clearly not. There's a yellow flag. It looks like it's for one of the Renaults. Yeah, it's Hubert. So he is out of the race, which is actually really disappointing for him because he qualified crazily high up. I mean, I don't know how Bottas only ended up 10th in qualifying, but he did, and I think Hubert was on the 2nd row in a Renault. So showing that there's serious pace in those Renaults by the looks of it. Much faster than Ricciardo, so he could be one to watch. I say that. Looks like we finally got our DRS wing working, because I think we were using it just then. But doesn't really matter because we're not near Stroll there, as we go across there and go very wide and touch onto the grass, which allows the McLaren to get past us and Ricciardo to go up our inside. We brake very late, trying to keep it still side by side. Obviously he's going to have the inside line going into this corner, but we give him enough squeeze so that we stay alongside, and we're going to have the inside line going to here, and that allows us to stay ahead. And we do manage to just catch the DRS of Norris. As you can see, he's actually over a second ahead of us going on to DRS zone, so we only just managed to catch it. And we're going to get it again going on to this 2nd DRS zone, even though we were a second under, because the DRS zones there are calculated by the one line before the last corner. So it doesn't matter if you end up over a second behind, you're still going to have it. Moving on to lap 9, this is our pit stop window. We are in P4, make a little bit of contact there. We'll see a replay there. Ricciardo goes for a massive dive bomb and taps our inside. It spins him round a little bit, and you can see he's ended up in P6 now, 3 seconds behind. So behind us is actually Kvyat, and we are in 4th, but obviously bear in mind most of the guys ahead have pitted by now. So we should be going into the pits for a set of softs still, even though it is raining. However, I do actually decide to stay out a little bit longer, I'm hoping that if it is going to change and we're going to end up having to go on to inters, then I might be able to reach that point without having to stop. So that's why I'm trying to stay out for as long as I can. You see, we are actually in first, so we are leading a race in our first race of the second season. Not that it matters much, because obviously there's no way we're going to end up first, as we've still got a pit. But if we can get to the transition point, if there's going to be one, then it's a very good strategy call. But I get to lap 11 and I decide, you know what, these tyres have had enough. We need to go on to new tyres, and it looks like the transition point is nowhere to be seen. So we are into the pits for our first stop as we go in. And it's a 3.1 second stop, so not very quick, but not terrible either. As we come out of the pits now, and we feed out in P9. So Norris has stayed ahead of us. Ricciardo has actually managed to pip us as well. Bear in mind, when he went into the pits, he was about 3.5 seconds behind us. So, yeah, clearly showing that those Renaults do have some serious pace on them, which is good for us, because it means that, you know, we've got the same engine. So as long as we are able to update our chassis and all that, we should be fine. As you see behind us, the two Ferraris actually make contact, battle it out for position, and Vettel comes off worse, as you can see, and a bit of his wing is off. And that is slowing him down a lot, which is good for us, because it means it's slowing down everyone behind him. So the longer he stays out with his broken wing, the better it is for us. Moving to lap 13, Bottas is out of the session. So not been a particularly good race for him anyway, starting P10. And obviously his teammate Hamilton starting P1. So terrible qualifying for him, and it didn't look like he had a huge amount of race pace either. But yeah, he is out of the session there. And we are still in P9. You see Vettel is about 4.6 seconds behind now. And moving on to lap 14, Vettel is out of the picture. He's been overtaken by Kvyat, who is 7.5 seconds behind. So further showing just how much Vettel was holding everyone up with his broken wing. We're managing to keep ahead of Leclerc actually. He's 4 seconds behind. Jeff reckons it's time to change the tyres, even though I'm not so sure. Even though, you know, it is difficult.
We'll be seeing at least 20 minutes of light rain. We're not certain which is the best tyre right now, dries or inters.
And Jeff saying they're not certain what's the right tyre, but I don't see anyone coming in for inters. And, you know, I played this game enough to know when the transition point is happening or is near, and it's still not that bad. I mean, obviously there is still a bit of understeer all over the place, but that's to be expected when it's raining. So we're going for our second and final pit stop of the day in 2.9 seconds, so a couple of attempts quicker than last time, and we are on to mediums. And we flow out. Where do we come out? Looks like we're going to come out alongside Perez. We give in the end. Didn't want to make contact, but we have actually managed to get ahead of Norris and Ricciardo by staying out a couple of laps longer than them. So staying out actually worked this time, whereas last time we lost positions. So P6 in our first race at the moment. Obviously bear in mind we've got two Renault powered cars behind us who have clearly shown that they're very, very fast, and you can see Ricciardo at the moment actually has the fastest lap. So that's showing you just how fast they are. But moving on to lap 20, Prez has pulled away 2.8 seconds, Albon's still ahead, 4.7, and we've just about managed to keep out of the DRS zone of the guys behind. So, you know, they're over a second behind us. So for the time being, we are actually, you know, managing the pace quite well and staying ahead. I suppose it depends on if the tyres decide to fall off at the end. But bear in mind, we did come in a couple of laps later. Moving on to lap 24, Norris is 2 tenths behind us. And you see he goes for a bit of a move on the inside, a very late lunge there. I don't know what he was thinking. He was behind us and thought, you know what, just go for it. Go for a Ricciardo move, but didn't work. Going on to the last lap, he's 1.5 seconds behind. So I think, you know, unless we make a tragic mistake, we've got P6 in the bag here. We're not going to get P5. He's 9 seconds ahead of us now. There's no way we're getting anywhere close to him. But as long as we can keep Norris and Ricciardo behind, which we should easily do, and you can see coming up to the line on lap 29. We make it P6 for our first race of our second season, so that's a very, very good result, considering, you know, the sort of results we were getting at the end of last season. Not great. We got driver of the day as well, which I suppose going from P15 to P6 is pretty good. Ocon ended up in P13 from P19, so not a bad show from him either, to be honest. So clearly showing that that extra pace that we've got from him is working wonders. All he's got to do is qualify a bit better, and then, you know, we could be regularly in the points, and that is definitely what we want to be doing. I want to try and get our car in this season to be fighting regularly in the points. You know, 6th, 7th, 8th, that sort of position, rather than getting points every now and then. But that puts us obviously 6th in the driver's standings, Ocon 13th at the moment, and 4th in the constructor standings with our 8 points. Bear in mind though, obviously there's a long way to go. That's only our first race. If we can keep it up, fantastic. Obviously we'll keep the upgrades coming. That should help. But yeah, other than that, thank you very much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that fantastic action. Check the links in the description. Got Discord and stuff like that. But other than that, that's it from me. And good night.